So, David, I hear this new show coming up, the Fortean Slip.
You know, I don't know where these douchebags are coming from.
Steve Alcorn's a fine investigator. What he's doing with this Chris dude, I have no idea.
Christopher York is fucked up. The dude is seriously fucked up.
Put that on the show.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
You harassed me to watch this piece of shit.
And ultimately a piece of shit it is. And fucking listen!
I was going to make a lemming noise.
I was a fucking lemming.
I don't know. How do you explain those kind of things?
Aliens are actually time travelers from the future.
So don't worry, in the future, we're still ignorant bastards.
This show is going to be fucked up.
I'd like to tell you all this show is going to be good. But let's face facts. And welcome to the Fortean Slip. I am your jackass, unprofessional, amateur host. With me as always, Mr. Steve Alcorn. Steve.
Oh, hey, that's me.
That
What's up,
is
Chris?
you. It's another wonderful evening.
That it is.
Yes, it is. Tonight's episode is The Power of Chris Compels You. We are going to talk
I like that title.
possession, demonic, devilish.
We're not talking possession is 9/10 of the law?
Maybe. It could
Okay.
be in this
'Cause
case.
that's what I studied up on that possession,
as well.
thinking that's what we were... Yeah, well, because I thought that's what we were talking about.
You're unprepared.
I very much so am.
It's usually the case anyway.
Yeah.
So, we wanted to talk about demonic possession and exorcisms and the such. I found it kind of interesting that exorcisms in and of themselves, the exorcist is not the force that drives out the demon. It's the higher spirit that they call through themselves that casts out the demon. Thought that was
Well,
kind of,
yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
Duh.
But I thought they were just amazing people.
Well, they are amazing people, but the power, it's the power of, well, I guess God or something that drives out the demon.
It's the power of
not
Chris.
person.
The power of Chris compels you, Steve.
Yes, master. I will do your bidding now.
But you did a little research into a possession story, Steve.
Yeah, I did. It would be from, what is that, Groton? Scrotum?
I'd say
Massachusetts?
Groton.
Groton. Yeah, Elizabeth Knapp, and she was, I believe, a Puritan 16-year-old girl from there, and she was allegedly possessed.
And touched by her father.
Maybe she was touched by an angel.
Oh.
Or was that something else?
I got that wrong. I stand corrected.
So anyway, she lived in the house of a minister, and
So she was
and
touched
you and
by
I
the
talked.
minister?
That could very well possibly be, because one point in the story that I read, he claims that he had to hold her for an hour, so it may be true. But anyway, so I did a little digging on this and read up on the story, and I found, because of the wonderful investigator that I am, according to Mr. Poling in our intro,
Quit stroking your ego.
I went to Ancestry.com and I was able to find a living descendant of Elizabeth Knapp.
No
And
way.
that absolutely. And that living descendant will be our special guest here in a few minutes when he decides to phone in to this show.
That's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
So what was interesting about this case, though, Steve, was that it was supposedly the first scientifically documented case of a demonic possession or a possession by the devil.
Well, right. This was what, 1671, I believe.
Yes.
So, but you know, in those days, standard scientific documentation was, well, they wrote the story down, basically. But yeah, first one.
First one.
So, absolutely.
And the Reverend was Samuel Willard.
That was his name, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was his servant. Back then, they had to, you know, young girls that were lower class would have to go and be servants for the upper class people, and they had no choice in the matter. So that was the story how she came to live with the Reverend and his family. So, absolutely. Hold on. I'm getting a phone call on the Fortean Slip hotline. I believe this is our special guest. Let me answer this, Chris.
Okay.
Hello, welcome to the Fortean Slip. Who do we have online?
Hello?
Hello?
Am I on?
I believe so. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, this is Matt Knapp, living descendant of Elizabeth Knapp.
Matt
Holy
Knapp?
shit!
Yes.
Holy
Yes.
cow.
Have we been
You know,
wanting
Matt,
to
I've
talk
been
to
wanting,
you?
yeah. Jeez,
Yeah, you know, I've been a big fan of the show, and whenever Steve contacted me, I was just shocked. You know, this is obviously a skeleton that is very, very, very deep in the family closet.
Matt, are you possessed
And
by the devil?
Not right now.
Oh.
Not at this
Well,
moment.
I wanted to ask you, Matt, though, does demon possession run in your family? Being that Elizabeth was-
Somewhat. A little bit. It skips a generation every now and then.
Which generation are you? That's what I need to know.
Well, I mean, you know, I thought we were going to talk about Elizabeth Knapp.
Okay, well, let's do that.
Okay.
So, Matt, just to be clear, you in fact are a living descendant of Elizabeth Knapp.
All kidding aside, yes, I am
we're
in
not making that
fact
up.
an actual descendant. Not that it was like my great 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 grandmother or anything.
I think you forgot a great.
Fantastic grandmother. But yeah, in the family tree, she is there. It's on the family's genealogical website. That's how I actually learned about her. Reading that website, and they mentioned something about witchcraft and demon possession and blah blah blah. Click the link here, and it took me to the Wikipedia article about her. And yeah, here I am.
That's an amazing story.
It's not really that amazing, really.
It's kind of, you know, bland, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, I wish there was something.
Changed my mind immediately.
Yeah. I wish there was more to it than that, but there isn't. Although I could make some things up.
Oh, well, by all means.
We're not recording now, are we?
No.
Okay, good.
Never.
Good.
No. Say anything that you don't want aired right now.
Right now.
Wait a minute. Let me click this button.
Okay, a little red light just popped up on my screen. But yeah, Elizabeth Knapp, related, first documented case of possession.
Scientifically,
whatever those scientific standards were in the late 1600s.
Did Reverend Willard
Willard Scott, yes.
The power of Christ compels you?
Probably not.
No.
Well, I think the scientific method back then consisted of Reverend Willard writing this all down and then sending it off to Cotton Mathers, which is a really cool name, but I have no clue who the guy is because I didn't look into it.
I believe he had something to
think he was
do
like,
with the Salem witch trials.
right, I think he was like the higher up dude or
Yeah,
something like that.
he had something to do with that. I'm completely uninformed on the matter, so
Well, we never researched for this show.
fuck no. Why would we? We
So anyway,
kinda do.
getting back on subject, Elizabeth Knapp was Reverend Willard's servant, and she wasn't his servant for very long before she allegedly became demon possessed. Matt, was there any stories in your family, or did you just happen to come across?
No, I ran across it, like I said, on the family's website. My uncle is big into the genealogy of the family, and a website was created that talks about the history of everybody and everything. And really, it's kind of funny because the only time she's really mentioned, other than just by name, is on, like, the webpage kind of takes you through the history of the family. And whenever you get to, like, the very last page, down at the very bottom, there's just, like, this, 2 or 3 sentences
This little
about
footnote.
her. Yeah, like, oh, by the way, you're related to this crazy bitch that was demonically possessed in the 1600s. Click here if you want to know about it.
So here's the thing, is her being a servant, a lot of people think that she kind of made the whole thing up basically as a rebellion type thing to get out of her duties as a servant.
Well, what do they know? They weren't around in the 1600s.
That's right.
Well, that is true.
How dare they say
So-
she wasn't really possessed by a demon?
Well, that is your kin, and I don't want to, speak bad about
How
your
do
kin.
they know that the semen of that reverend wasn't inside her? I mean, a demon wasn't inside of her.
Yes, the Knapp family, demonically possessed and proud.
Well, when she first became quote unquote possessed, she blamed it on an older lady in town, and then of course the good Reverend Willard Scott didn't believe her. So then she changed her story and admitted that it was the devil that came to her.
And
And
he was
possessed her,
he
and
was
she-
known for his scientific method of every day noting that there were 2 old people in town.
Yes.
Right. Well, later, after she claimed the devil made her do it, she then claimed that there was another old woman in town that made her do it. But I guess she apparently sold her soul to the devil for some fine linens, which is really nice.
Well,
Wow.
Of
I'd
course,
sell
who
my
wouldn't?
soul for some fine linens.
easy.
Come on now.
That's the thing that I don't really get about possession cases, especially in instances such as this where it's supposedly the actual devil as represented through the religion of Christianity. What would be the point again? Like, why would the devil do this? And why is it always like the devil himself?
To test the faith
Right.
of the
Right.
yeah.
I mean, because demonic possessions, one of the interesting things about it is it actually does exist in just about every culture in the world.
Yes, it does.
So it's not just a Christian thing where, oh, it's the devil or, oh, it's one of the devil's demons. Like, it can be, a spirit or a demonic entity of some kind or some other god or demigod or whatever, depending on what culture you're in. But everybody's got stories about it.
And people who
And what-
people who channel are technically possessed as they're channeling.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not limited to just a Christian type of faith, devil, demonic. There are all kinds of different types of possession.
Well, I was possessed once, but I exercised it out. I used to weigh 260 pounds. Now I'm down to 200. So I had a gut demon. That's what I call it anyhow. But, you know, through the power of exorcism,
you're not allowed to tell any more jokes ever.
That was a bad one. That one wasn't good.
There was one I've heard recently that was worse.
Oh, from me?
No.
Probably. Oh.
No, that's about as bad as you've done.
Yeah. So anyway. But yeah, I mean,
I will just sit back in my corner now.
Yeah, you should. And there are other cases of, you know, demonic possession. The David Berkowitz case, where, and I guess he's amended his story on this, but initially he said that the dog, his next door neighbor's dog, was possessed and was telling him to kill people. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of interesting.
Your dog?
You know, because possessions... Well, no, but possessions aren't limited to people either.
Right.
I mean, you could go off the biblical reference of the pigs or something jumping off the cliff, or sorry if I don't get the story right. But
swine, yeah.
Yeah, pigs. But demons can possess animals as well, for whatever purpose.
Shaman motherfucking pig.
So I guess the question is possession a real thing? And if it is a real thing, what is it? Is it really, you know, demons, the devil, or is it something else? Magic mushrooms, for example, or...
Well, legally, you can be charged with possession.
Yes. And legally, possession is 9/10 of the law, as we discussed earlier.
So, in the legal aspect, yeah, it's real.
Sure.
I mean, wait, no. We're not talking about possession.
Not that kind of possession.
Got it.
Yeah. Leave the legality out of this shit.
Yeah, we don't get it.
Amen.
So Berkowitz was actually a pretty interesting case, you know. And if you go back and read his letters, they are about the freakiest thing I've ever read.
Yeah,
I mean, they go up and down. And,
didn't he say he was a Satanist in the end? He amended it and said he was in like a satanic cult.
At first he claimed that the neighbor's dog, told him to go out and murder, and then he claimed that he was involved in the 90s, because that happened. I think it started in 76 or so, I believe. And then in the 90s, he amended his confession, because he confessed to 8 murders. And then he amended it and said that he was involved in some sort of satanic cult that required him to do, you know, these murders.
Yeah, they were ritualistic murders, supposedly.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess if you think about it, it would still be, you know, if you're in a satanic cult, you would still be possessed, I'm guessing, by Satan himself. Well, at least you worship the guy. Yeah.
Ask Anton LaVey.
But I don't know. I have no idea.
Maybe your investigative skills can get Anton LaVey on, huh? Huh?
If I knew who Anton LaVey was,
hey,
I would get him on.
He's not related to Elizabeth Knapp.
But you are.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's a good point.
And I got the Matt Knapp.
But he was the head of the Satanic Church.
On this show. Oh, that guy.
I think
that Anton LaVey.
Didn't he die, though?
Well, yeah, I mean, eventually you have to pay out the contract, and
right.
The devil goes down to Georgia, and
he was looking for a soul to steal. He was in a bind.
Yeah.
He was way behind. Yeah.
He was willing to make a deal, though.
But you know what?
Why would you fucking play a fiddle for your soul? I mean, really.
Hey, if that's what you're good at.
I fucking jammed out to The Fucking Devil Went Down to Georgia, but who the fuck plays a fiddle for their soul?
Charlie Daniels.
Okay.
Who else?
Point taken. All right.
All right.
We'll accept
see,
that answer.
Charlie won in the end, so the devil didn't get his soul. And it's a
But-
fiddle of gold. I mean,
Now-
who wouldn't want that?
Still to this day, though, I mean, I remember reading a news article several years ago where the Catholic Church claims that demonic possession is on the rise and that these things still happen. They just don't talk about them. You know, my thinking, which I'm still kind of partial to this train of thought, is that demonic possession was just a way that certain things were interpreted, such as, you know, schizophrenia or something like that, you know.
I have to agree.
Mental illnesses, or if you did eat the wrong type of mushroom and started tripping balls, like, oh my God, what's wrong with them? People going mad. And there's a lot of diseases that now we don't have to deal with because of modern medicine, but back in olden times, there were diseases that, you know, if you got a fever or something, it would make you go crazy. And I always felt that that was a way, you know, that it was interpreted. But now we know better, but yet possession cases still happen. So it's kind of a weird deal.
If we're looking at the religious context of this, I grew up in church, right? And it was a Pentecostal type of church. And this is not a religion bashing thing, but they blame a lot of things on demons and possession. I mean, if you are addicted to pornography, that's the demon of pornography. Or if you're a gambler, you have the demon of gambling or smoking or whatever, you know. So I think a lot of things that aren't possession get blamed on possession in a religious context anyhow.
Wouldn't it suck to be like, I'm the demon of stealing the last piece of cake?
I've been possessed by that demon.
You can't be very high up on the totem pole if you're that demon.
No. I think you start out...
Did you just
you know,
relate being
at that
possessed to eating fucking cake?
I didn't.
I think we both did in a way.
Just seriously, just be like,
No,
yeah,
I know.
wouldn't that suck to
No,
just
I
be...
know what Steve's saying, and he's right. There are certain religions who blame anything bad on a particular demon.
Right.
Well, watch some of those, if you get like the Inspirational Channel or some of those channels on your TV, watch some of those shows where they talk about that stuff. And everything's a demon. You know, everything bad is a demon, or you're possessed by
Everything they consider bad.
Right, they consider bad. And I'm not bashing religion in any way, but I think it's an excuse, to be honest with you. You know, well, we don't really know how to take care of you, so we're gonna you know, pray for you, and the demon will go away. And
Well, it's another control situation. It's a way to control people, and, you know, saying, okay, well, you did something to let this demon in your life. That's why you're behaving against the rules of how you're supposed to act according to us. And it's also a way to displace the blame of people. Just, you know what, sometimes people do shithead things, even good
Right.
people.
Well, then you have the case of Annalise Michelle there, the one that the Exorcism of Emily Rose was based on.
Yeah.
And she had a history of epilepsy and mental illness, and she was treated at a hospital, a psychiatric hospital, and then, you know, she you know, spurned religious artifacts, you know, drank her own urine, heard voices, spoke in tongues, all kinds of happy horse shit. And she wound up dying, and people were charged for that.
charged how?
I believe her.
I haven't seen the movie.
I believe her doctor and her parents were charged with negligent homicide
Because they believed it was demons and
because
didn't
of
take care
the
of her health?
the way they tried to treat her.
Okay.
Well, why wasn't John Travolta charged?
Hmm. I'm assuming that John Travolta was in the movie. That I haven't
No,
seen.
I'm referring to his son dying because he's a Scientologist and refused to
Oh,
accept
that
medical
thing.
treatment for
Yeah.
his
Oh,
son.
yeah. Okay. Right.
Because
I don't
he's
get that
got
either.
money.
Because he's fucking John Travolta, that's
That's
why.
right. If you
And
were,
he's in
if
Saturday
you were
night.
John
Or he's a pilot.
Travolta,
He's a
you
really
could
cool
walk
guy.
down the street with music too.
Yeah, and he got to play the top archangel in a movie. I mean, come on.
That's right.
Well, there's your answer. He played an angel in the movie. You can't charge an angel with anything. I mean, come on now.
You can charge that movie with being fucking horrid, though.
It was absolutely
I
horrible.
slept through that movie. My ex-wife and I went to that movie, and she got so mad at me because I fell asleep in the theater.
You have to be possessed to watch that movie, actually.
Yeah.
She liked it.
Speaking of which,
Speaking of
a little segue there.
Yeah.
Possession is something that does, regardless of whether you think it's real or not, it scares the crap out of people, so they make a lot of movies about it.
The fuck they do.
And most of the movies that they make, whether it's true or not, are supposedly based on true stories.
The power of Christ compels you.
I don't get it.
The power of Christ compels you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But the movie The Right
The Right.
with Sir Anthony Hopkins.
I have not seen that.
Well, you need to watch it. That movie was pretty freaky. Not the movie itself, but just his portrayal as someone who's possessed. It was pretty creepy.
Good old
But
Anthony.
obviously the most famous of all would be The Exorcist.
Power.
I don't know if anybody's ever seen that one.
The power of Christ compels you.
I have seen The Exorcist, but it was years ago.
The power of Christ compels
That
you.
movie freaked me right out.
Now, wasn't that based on true events?
Allegedly, I think it was, yeah.
The power of Christ compels you.
How can you say, there's no scientific way to prove that possession is real. So you can't say it. I mean, you can say it's based on true events all you want. Just like I can say anything, just like we can say that Elizabeth Knapp's case was scientifically documented, which technically, I guess, because they wrote it down.
Which brings up another interesting point that I've seen, is apparently it's the popular thing in the demon society to possess young people.
Ah, of course.
And be called Captain Howdy.
And to be called Captain Howdy.
Well, Elizabeth was 16 years old at the time. I guess when, you turn a certain age back then, if you were from the lower class, you went to be a servant. And that's what she had to do. And after reading her story, and I went, not just a Wikipedia article, but I went to, I think it was Ancestry.com, and even they thought, that she was only possessed for 3 months. And then she went on to live a normal life and had 10 children and married a guy whose last name was Scripture.
Because nobody can get
Which is
clean
kind
from
of funny.
Satan, right, Steve? Right? Is that what you're trying to say?
What they said, she became,
Maybe she went to rehab.
that could be. Is there a demon possession rehab?
There could be.
I bet you there is.
Don't judge.
But anyway, after reading the story, it seemed a lot to me like she was just a rebellious, teenage girl. And she didn't want to be a servant. And because she was, quote unquote, possessed, for those 3 months, she didn't have to do her duties as a servant. And she got the attention of the preacher that she lived with. And so he, basically
she got his attention already.
gave in to her. Well, who knows there.
Perhaps that's what it was about.
He injected her with some hot, viscous fucking Satan.
But it reminded me a lot of, teenagers nowadays. They rebel. And if you look at a lot of preachers who have daughters, when their daughters turn a certain age, what happens a lot of the time, and I know this from experience.
I know what happens too.
From knowing preachers' daughters, they tend to become very rebellious and, going going out and doing things that are totally against what the religious beliefs are. So that is my guess as to what was going on with Elizabeth Knapp, because it was a very religious society in those days. I mean, this is 1670s in fucking Massachusetts, just before the Salem witch trials and all that. So
yeah, the Amish got it right. Whenever their children reach that age, they just let them go be fucking nuts and tell them to come back whenever they've settled down.
And the fact there is that a lot of them don't come back. My brother-in-law is former Amish, so I'm very well aware of what happens there. So, but a lot of them rebel too, because they're in
They
a
also
very strict...
believe in demonic possession, though, right?
I believe they do, yeah.
Well, they
He
do
doesn't
on
talk a
Amish
lot about
Mafia.
that. Amish Mafia is about the worst show on television. I'm sorry. Knowing a lot of former Amish like I do, and current Amish, in fact, that show just sucks to me, because they are normal people, but they are not like that. Things like that do happen in the Amish community, but not to that extent. So.
But they all have those funky beards.
Yeah, that they're required to grow at a certain age. But,
can I grow one of those beards?
are you Amish?
No.
Then no. You're not allowed.
I was hoping.
It's against well, they call us English, so it's against the English Code of Conduct, I think.
The English Code of Conduct?
Yeah, I believe that's what it is. But anyway, what point I was trying to make is that in Elizabeth Knapp's case, and I'm sure a lot of maybe even the ones that were in the Salem witch trials, I think a lot of that, was rebellion on their part. They didn't want to be a part of a society where women, especially, were treated like second-class citizens, and I think that's where Elizabeth Knapp got.
Treated for possession wouldn't be like a fun thing to go through.
Well, before the Salem, because Elizabeth was before the Salem witch trials.
Well, the Salem witch trials, they've deduced now that was due to rotten bread.
Well, that could be too. I haven't looked into it.
The rotten rye caused them to... It's basically LSD, and it caused them to trip out, and that's why they thought they were possessed.
I have some rye bread that's gone bad.
There you go. Go trip out.
Let
us know how it is.
I think I'm going to go try it.
No, you can fucking
I
die
never liked rye
for
bread
doing
before.
Yeah, don't actually do that.
Don't try.
I was already on my way to the kitchen to go get the bread.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to stop you.
Sounds tasty.
I'm very naive when it comes to these things,
Yes.
So anyway, at least in Elizabeth's case, I think it was a lot of rebellion. But I could.
Okay, well, what about in the cases where, they start speaking Latin or something? I mean, there are certain things that happen in possession cases that, what's the explanation for all this stuff?
Do we have this documented? I mean, is it on video anywhere that we can see that they're actually speaking in Latin and they haven't been coached, or, you know what I mean? Or they haven't taken a Latin course in high school?
Such a skeptic.
Well, sometimes you have to be, man.
The power of Christ compels you, Steve.
I'm not saying demon possession isn't possible. I've never seen...
If demons are real.
Actually prove.
If demons are real, then it would be possible.
You have to believe that, demons are real before you can believe that possession is real.
And there we go.
So...
If you believe that possession is possible, I mean, perception and belief go hand in hand, so if you think that you're possessed by a demon, then in essence you are possessed by a demon.
Wow. You just blew my mind, Matt.
Uh-huh.
I have nothing more to say now.
I can't think of what it's called right now, but what's that disorder that and it was in that movie that we watched there, the Fourth Kind, the bitch's daughter there had it.
Post.
It's not it's a post-traumatic type of disorder, but I can't think of what it's called when they don't have the physical problem, but they display the symptoms, and it actually does happen. Because I have heard about it from doctors before.
Yeah, where they believe.
Is that Munchausen?
No, it's not Munchausen. That's when the parent is trying to kill.
No, that Munchausen by proxy would be when the parent does that to the child, but Munchausen itself, I think, could be the same type of thing.
I can't think of what it is right now, but I wonder if that has anything to do with it as well. And a lot of it could be attention-seeking behavior too. It doesn't have to be just, rebellion. It could be just attention-seeking behavior.
Right. It could be.
I think that happens a lot.
I've come across people, being a fervent churchgoer as a younger man, who have claimed to have been demon-possessed, but I have never seen anybody who I actually believed was demon-possessed. So
I think a lot.
It's hard to say.
That's the model.
You might cut out on that one. Matt.
I said, I think a lot of it was schizophrenia.
I think a lot of it was too, back in the day, before they knew what schizophrenia was, or a lot of other mental disorders too.
You obviously would become another person in essence, or you would see and hear things that aren't there, and
have all kinds of stories.
I have a family member who's a paranoid schizophrenic, so I'm very well aware of that, and it does fit, a lot of what they used to believe is demon possession.
My uncle who passed away not too long ago was paranoid schizophrenic, and that man told me some of the craziest fucking stories I've ever heard in my life. I sat down with him I sat down with him one night, and he's like, "I'm the bionic boy." And I'm like, no shit. I was like fucking in my teenage years, and I was like fucking bought into it. I'm like, really? Fuck.
That's fucking awesome.
But then like 5 minutes later, he's like, I'm the secret love child of Hitler and Ava Braun. And I was like, whoa.
So when did you become bionic?
If you think about it in context, what context? Let's say Elizabeth Knapp maybe was schizophrenic back in those days. Well, his context, your uncle's, was 70s television apparently, but hers would have been religious. Dude,
my uncle also said that my grandfather, my uncle, and my father took him out in the back field in the middle of the Civil War and butt fucked him. So,
well, the person in my family,
that's definitely not 70s television.
No.
No. Well, 70s porn television,
maybe.
But you see what I'm saying. I think it's a possibility that, these sort of things happened, and then as the stories get told through the gossip chain of ye olde yesteryear, things like, and the bed levitated, and her head spun around, and were added on.
Right.
Well, that's what I want to see. I want to see video of somebody's head spinning around, or a video of somebody's
Well,
bed
it physically can't happen.
But I think you find that in a lot of cases where there's a lot of embellishment that goes on, and you get a lot of these cases that are turned into movies, and when they say it's based on a true story, sometimes it can be based on fucking a tiny piece of the story. Like that movie, and this is completely off topic as far as not being about possession, but that movie The Strangers, which is like a thriller style horror movie,
right?
They touted that as based on actual events or something like that, and you look into it, and it's not based on anything that happened for real. It's based on a couple of events. That's it. And a lot of these possession cases, you've got like The Exorcist, which was supposedly based on a real case. You've got the The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which is based on the Annalise Michelle case, and I think I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. And you've got other movies that are based on whatever, but they embellish so much that the people that wind up watching this buy into that, and that becomes part of the fact of the matter when it's really just hearsay or folklore.
Right. I mean, some little kid could have caught some sort of virus or something back in the day, and the doctors didn't know what the fuck it was. Nothing they're doing is working, so they go to the church. And the priest comes in and says, oh, they're demonic possession, blah, 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 and they start doing all this thing, and they keep on and keep on. Eventually, the human body gets rid of the virus, the kid gets healthy again, and now the priest has ridded them of their demon, and everything's right with the world again, and demonic possession is now believed.
Right. And everybody buys into it because they saw it with their own eyes.
Right.
So you got Catholic priests and others who do exorcisms. Do they really believe what they're doing is real, or what? I mean, I don't know. I've never been Catholic.
Well, that opens up a whole new can of worms there, Steve.
Right.
It opens
I mean, because we live in a fucked up world.
But if you look at demonic possession, all right, let's say, let's look at this as a factual thing. So if we're looking at it as, yes, they do believe in demonic possession and they're performing the rite, then by that act and that fact, if they were going to do the rite, they believed what they were doing, they would want to totally believe.
Right, yeah. I guess they would have to.
They'd have to, because of the situation, if that's the case. But, we're human. And there's always that doubt. So, can we think that any one of them does that without any doubt in their heart as to what they're doing? I mean, I can't speak for him personally, but I know that'd be pretty difficult.
Well, like I said, it's a fucked up world we live in.
Right.
So the chances are, unfortunately, that, yeah, there probably are some that don't believe in it. But overall, I don't think that's the case.
But what's there to gain, by blaming everything on the devil?
Well, because if they do that, it creates fear, and where are you going to go to get protected from that sort of thing? Well, you're going to turn to your church, and they're going to gain members, and
the power of Christ will compel you.
I guess you're right. I rarely talk about religion because, like I said, I grew up in church, but there are a lot of things that bother me about it, and that's one of them. Exorcisms have always, and demon possession have always bothered me because, like you say, Matt, it's a fear-based thing. And in history, the history of the church, wars have been fought over fear-based shit. And lots of things have been done for fear-based shit, and that bothers the hell out of me about religion. So, but we won't go any further on that subject. You can't talk about demon possession without a little bit of religion involved, at least,
Thanks for bringing the fucking show down, Steve.
It's what I do.
On that note, since we're getting towards the end of the show, we wanted to, since we all come from a Bigfoot background, unfortunately, we wanted to bring up the wonderful new Timbergiantbigfoot video.
Big Red.
Big Red.
My favorite chewing gum when I was a kid.
Yeah. And kind of wanted to get you guys' thoughts on what you thought of the video.
Well, here's my issues with Timbergiant, which I guess his real name is Jim. I don't know his last name. I've watched a lot of Timbergiant's videos, and so far, none of them not even this one has been very compelling to me. He had one with some vocalizations a while ago, and to me it just sounded like, you know, cows out in the pasture. And he had claimed that the Bigfoot's followed him home, but that's neither here nor there. This one, at the beginning of the clip, I think it was like a 9-minute clip, and the Bigfoot was in like the last 4 or 5 minutes of it or something like that,
Right.
or not even that much. But he's walking in the woods or wherever he's at. The guy that never gets off the trail hardly any, but of course he comes across an apple tree, and he must mention this apple tree in the beginning of the video. Well, anyway, later in the video, he sees something, and he zooms in on it, and then the thing's just about to turn and look at him, and of course it's either edited or cut it right at that point. And then he mentions nuts in the video too, by the way, before he sees this Bigfoot. And then
Yeah, there's a nut in the video, all right.
yeah, it sure is. But you know, then he zooms in on this alleged Bigfoot again, and then he does a tree knock after he says, I don't know if I should make any noise or I shouldn't approach the thing, and the thing gets up and walks away. But there's a lot of edits in the video, and those are red flags, and every edit, and when he does the tree knock, he pans down,
But it doesn't. I
so
mean,
you don't see the thing getting up and walking away.
yeah, there's all.
But anyway, I want to get to the apples. Of course, he mentions at the beginning of the video the apple tree. Why would you mention that? I don't know. But so he goes over there where the creature allegedly was, and of course there's apples there, you know. And of course he had mentioned nuts, so of course there's nuts there. My take on it, I think he borrowed Todd Standing's Muppet costume. That's my take. I don't think it's a real animal. I think it's looks to me, as an uneducated wildlife expert, it looks like fake fur to me.
There's there's too many cuts in it, and in one of the versions that I saw, it looks like there are pointed ears on whatever is.
I saw that too.
Whatever is turning to quote unquote walk away, because it doesn't even really walk away. It doesn't look like it's walking on 2 legs anyway.
You never see legs.
Right, you never see
just
legs.
See
you never
the
see.
upper.
You never really see anything. And
what we're supposed to be looking at in that video, allegedly, is the head and shoulders of whatever it is. So,
and everything else
but you
is
never
obscure.
see legs, right? Like always,
Yeah.
you know. And if you go back and look at Phil Holding's Para Breakdown channel, he did a breakdown of another video that Timber Giant did, and it was the same stuff. You know, you never saw anything except the top of the alleged head of this creature, and it was behind a small patch of bushes, and he didn't wait around to see the thing come out from behind a very small patch of bushes.
Well, like I said,
You know.
if you ask me, that it definitely looks like there's a set of pointed ears on whatever it is.
Well, if you go to Randy Filipovic's Racer X YouTube channel, he did a slow down version, and I think it's a little bit enhanced too. And to me, that's where I saw the pointed ears, because he slowed it down. I don't know how much he slowed it down, but it was really good. A good version to watch, because it's stabilized and slowed down. And you can see the pointed ears kind of look like, you know, to be honest, it kind of looked like a teddy bear to me, but I don't know.
Right, and that's exactly what I saw. I saw like a fucking big furry fuzzy bear with fucking pointed ears instead of round ones. And it didn't
Gordon
and it
Shumway.
didn't say fucking waka waka when it fucking got out.
You know, it could have been Elf. It really could have been.
To me, I mean, first off, there's a lot of people defending this.
Oh, it's a great
Why?
find. He's amazing.
But the people that are defending it are seeing this video, and that's their first encounter with timber giant bullshit. I mean, Bigfoot. And if I've known about the guy for a while, and you know, like you're saying, his other videos are all just like this one.
Or worse.
Or worse. So here's a guy who's been posting the shitload out of videos over a lengthy period of time, all from the same area, where every time he goes out, he finds something, and the Bigfoot are leaving him gifts, and he's having all these interactions with them, and he's seen them several times, and then he wants to act like he's all in shock because he sees this one for some reason, and he doesn't know how to react to it. He makes several claims in the video, such as the height problem. Obviously, he says that, well, it's down in a ditch, but he never shows us the ditch, you know, from an elevated standpoint, or he never does anything to, like, go back and show, well, here's how big it was. I'm staying in the same spot, as you can see. He doesn't follow through with anything. The apples, like, okay, well, it's sitting here eating apples. You're not going to collect one of those for DNA since it was just there and videotaped. The hair looks like fake polyester hair.
It didn't even look like the hair that, or the fur, or the whatever that was on the creature to me. I don't know. It looked different.
Yeah, like, there's all kinds of problems with it. I mean, it just screams fake. And it's really sad that a lot of people are defending it because they, I guess, want it to be real. I don't know why they're defending it, because
the most common thing that I've heard when somebody like you or I or Chris says, you know, this is not real, the most common thing I hear is, well, he's a nice guy and he's an honest guy. Well, I'm here to tell you, and Matt, I'm sure you'll agree, and I know Chris will agree, there's a lot of alleged honest people in Bigfooting who have no problem filming a tree stump or a fucking teddy bear, or, you know, a fake Bigfoot. So
absolutely.
It has nothing to do with anything. Just because Jim is a charismatic guy and, you know, people like him does not mean he's not a fucking hoaxer. You know,
I'm not trying to shoot myself in my own foot here, but Rick Dyer's a nice fucking charismatic guy.
I have spoken to Rick off the record a lot, and I can tell you, when you're not talking Bigfoot, Rick is a great guy. When you're talking Bigfoot, he's an asshole, and he'll admit it. So
Tom Biscardi,
yeah.
Great personality. Complete douchebag, great personality though.
Right. So
I mean,
and
like, that proves
and people
nothing.
follow both of them.
Right, and then the people making all these claims that, you know, Jim, he's a nice, honest guy. How the fuck do they know?
Well, that's what South Jersey Squatch, I think that's his YouTube name and his Facebook name. That's what he said. Has he come over and mowed your lawn for you? Have you taken him out to dinner? How do you know this guy? You've met him on the internet. You've seen his YouTube videos. How do you know what kind of guy this guy really is? Is he what's his real motivation? You know, we don't know because we're only taking his word for it, right?
Right.
And I know people, and I know Chris will agree, that are really nice guys, and then they fuck you over in the end.
Yep.
So it happens, and it's happened to us, and it'll continue to happen to Bigfooters as long as we haven't discovered what this thing really is.
And one of my favorite parts of the video, I just have to put this one out there. You can tell that he's like maybe 50 feet from the thing. And he, like you said, he makes the comment, I don't know if I should do this or not, right before he does a loud-ass tree knock.
Right.
Okay, I'm here to tell you, you can test this if you want, or you can just take my word for it. At that volume level that he is talking into the camera, whatever is there would be able to hear him clear as day. It might be a little muddled, but it would be able to hear him.
Well, you know what the answer was to that. Well, maybe this Bigfoot was hard of hearing, and it didn't hear him from
deaf Sasquatch
talking into the video camera.
Fuck
we'll
off!
Get the fucking Bigfoot a miracle ear.
Like, come on, man.
That's probably why it didn't cloak it. So
yeah,
you know.
And why didn't it turn and fucking look at him? And why didn't it stand up and move like something?
See, the one edit, I think it was the first edit, the first time he edits the video, that thing is turning its alleged head towards the camera, and that's exact moment he edited that video.
Why would you edit that out?
There?
Because it's not a fucking Bigfoot.
Just like I'm familiar with the video you're talking about where, you know, it's behind the bush.
Right.
And conveniently, his son that goes with him researching is always missing during the times that the Bigfoot shows up. But that's another story. But when the Bigfoot's behind the bush, there's no place for the Bigfoot to escape to without just walking out into the open.
All he had to do was walk around the other side of the fucking bush.
Yeah, that's all he had to do.
Or wait.
Stand there. I saw
the thing has to come out for food sometime.
Now I'm going to film the bush for fucking 5 minutes, and then I'm just going to go home. Because I don't want to capture a Bigfoot on video.
If Timbergiantbigfoot does not release an unedited version of this video, then I'm going to say it here for the record. The dude is definitely a hoaxer. I mean, that's it. If he releases an unedited version of this video, then I can't claim that because then it's unedited. But because he edits out all the important parts, you know,
we here at the Fortean
and he doesn't go into a size
support the things that Steve says.
Bullshit, you don't. Listen, I believe. How can you be that stupid? How can you be that stupid? To
really?
How much email do you want this show to get?
Yeah.
The thing's behind a small bush. How can you be that
Canadian,
stupid?
Steve?
Yeah, well, yeah, so, yeah.
I love Canadians, I'm just kidding.
You sure
he's not I'll say it. I don't care if he releases the Cootie Graw video or not, he's a fucking liar and a hoaxer.
Wow.
And like,
I
don't care who supports that, who doesn't. That's how I feel. I already posted Timbergiant bullshit. That's exactly how I feel about it.
And a fitting name it is.
Yes.
In my opinion.
I
know a lot of people
believe...
who used to follow him and now don't because of this video. A good friend of mine was friends with Jim, and now, you know, he has his doubts now. Of course, I told him long ago.
I don't see a serious researcher that's worth their salt buying into this.
I don't see a serious researcher going out in the fucking woods in Crocs. Who does that?
Obviously, this gentleman.
I mean, we know one guy that goes out barefooted, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, that is a whole different fucking story.
But we also said serious researchers worth their salt.
Yeah.
Bada bing!
Yeah. You're gonna go out there. You're gonna go out in the woods in the flimsiest shoes you can find. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then you take them off. Yeah, right. What the hell was that for? So he could be quieter.
So yeah, basically, we all think it's bullshit. If Mr. Timbergiant,
I don't think it's bullshit.
Bullshit would like to release his unedited video, so that we could all take a look at it, that'd be lovely.
Or any physical evidence at all.
Yes, we would accept that and be willing to mull it over. But until then,
the name of the lab that's testing the hairs would be nice. The test results from a reputable lab would be nice. Or the unedited video adds a minimum.
Do we? Before we get into the news tonight, do we want to touch on the Melba Ketchum?
I would not like to touch Melba Ketchum.
I don't want to touch her either, but the what was it, Derek Randall's?
Yeah, we touch on that.
Do we want to go into that?
Let me pull that up real quick.
Latest update, Melba Ketchum. What are we in the 6th, 7th year now? Yeah. It's still full of shit.
Yeah, pretty much. But I thought, I mean,
I'm gonna go find. Let me go find the post and then we can touch on it real quick. Derek posted in several groups this morning asking for Melba to return the sample number 26, which is which is Justin's alleged Bigfoot sample that has already been tested by 2 labs and came back as bear.
And they actually, if I'm not mistaken, had a contractual agreement before they sent the samples in about it, right?
Would return it,
right. She would return the sample.
I'm going to looking for the. Okay, here it is. And Derek posted this in a lot of groups today, and he says he doesn't normally do this sort of thing, but he says, I've made this. Oh, Dear Dr. Melba Ketchum, I've made this request with your personal assistant, and I've also asked you directly, but still no response. Ms. Ketchum, I want what's left of my sample back, and quite frankly, I'm getting tired of waiting. The sample I'm referring to is sample 26, just there, so there is no confusion. It's the sample Justin Smia signed over to me, the sample that I gave you permission to test. I am the owner of the sample, and I have the documentation stating so. You have told me repeatedly that there is some sample left. You have also told me you would send it to Wally for me, Wally being Wally Hersom. The least you could do, considering Wally funded the majority of your study. The reason I want it back is simple. I want it retested. Posting this publicly is not my style, but in light of the fact I'm being ignored about this, and the BS seems to be getting thicker, I decided to post this publicly. I would very much appreciate a response from your camp. And I have to agree, Derek was a big supporter of Melba's, wasn't he, Matt?
Yeah, he was. He was one of the handful of individuals involved in submitting samples that I had faith in. Himself, along with a few others, you know, are people that I respect in this field and consider completely legitimate sources. And it sucks because they've all been screwed by this lady. And I know here recently I read that her number one person in her camp, her PR person or whatever, had quit and wasn't going to have anything else to do.
Ramey?
Yeah, she removed herself from the Ketchum project, as well
Sally
as
explained it in one of the groups. You know, she just couldn't do it anymore. She couldn't be involved in that sort of thing because she wanted it to be a serious study, and it really wasn't. So, but Justin did make a comment today. Being that the group that he made it in doesn't like when you share things, I will just kind of paraphrase, but he doesn't really know what sample 26 is. I know he said he's had it tested a couple times and it's come back bare, and it's probably bare, but he's still, you know, hoping, against hope, I guess, that it is Bigfoot, because whatever he shot that day, and I'm going on record right now saying that I know he shot something. I don't know what it was, and I believe that he believes it's a Bigfoot, but he believes it's a Bigfoot. He doesn't know if this sample is from that animal, though, because it was 5 weeks later. But right. He did respond to Derek's thing today on request from another poster. So,
but, I mean, I think the whole point with Derek's request and everything, they just want the truth.
Right.
They don't really care what it is. I mean, of course, everybody in the research community, I would imagine, would hope that it is the real deal. I think everybody held out because they hoped that Melba Ketchum was telling the truth, but her data and her comments did not support what she was saying. So,
yeah, it didn't at all. The data was certainly well. He had told Justin, and he's got witnesses to it, that well, if you send it to a lab, it's going to come back as a known animal and not a Bigfoot. But I have ways to make it come back as what it really is, which is a Bigfoot. Well, this was 10 months, I think, Bart said, before the study was completed. Right after they got the sample, and she wanted him to destroy samples. And
Yeah, and I mean, that's
weird.
part of the whole
stuff.
scientific process and the peer review process is opening up your testing to other scientists to retest everything and see if they get the same results.
Yeah, Bart had requested her, to return the sample so that they could have it tested, and she had originally agreed, Bart being Bart Catino, agreed, to return the sample to Wally, I believe, and then she backed out on it. She said, yeah, go ahead, get a third-party test, and she backed out on it because she knows what it's going to come back as, because she tested it apparently, but she manipulated the test so that it would come out the way she wanted it to come out.
Right.
That's not science.
No.
So that's all I have to say on that subject.
Yeah, it's more bullshit coming out of that camp.
And I can't believe, that it's still going on. If Melba would have just shut up after everybody realized that she was, well, a hoaxer, basically, a hoaxer on a large scale, she basically, in my opinion, stole money from a lot of people who funded her research, and that, to me, there should be some punishment involved there somehow. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you prove it, but
I agree. I mean, I doubt there will be, but, people funded that project under the pretense that she was going to conduct, a scientific investigation into this, and she hasn't done that.
Well, name one of her co-authors who have come out in support of her. Her alleged co-authors. I haven't heard any. Because they know it's bullshit,
Right.
And so do
as far as Derek's request, the only way he's going to get that sample back is, unfortunately, to go and file a lawsuit. And even then, she'll just claim that it was all used up.
Yeah.
So I doubt that he'll ever see it, or Wally will ever see it. So.
And on that note, it's time for some news with Mr. Steve Alcorn.
Loving the new news intro. First story today comes from adguk-blog.com, and allegedly a scientist in Russia photographs the soul leaving the body. The timing of astral disembodiment in which the spirit leaves the body has been captured by a Russian scientist, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the dude's name, who photographed a person at the moment of his death with a bioelectrographic camera.
Did he do that with the,
also known as an iPhone 5S.
Did he do that with the cameras from the Matrix movie?
The image taken using the gas discharge visualization method and advanced technique of Kirlian photography
Otherwise
shows
known
that
as the last fart that leaves the body.
Right,
shows
that's when you
the-
soil your pants.
shows the blue life force of the person leaving the body gradually.
Am I blue?
According to the scientist, the navel and the head are the parts of the body that first lose their life force, which would be the soul, and the groin and the heart are the last areas where the spirit is. So
That's
before
funny.
surfing-
I lose my life force from my groin first.
Every day.
Every day.
where the spirit, before surfing the phantasmagoria, whatever that means.
Phantasmagoria.
That's the word I was looking
for. It was a spook house here in a local amusement park.
In other cases, according to the scientist, he's noted that the soul of people who suffer a violent and unexpected death usually manifests a state of confusion in your power settings and return to the body in the days following death. This could be due to a surplus of unused energy. Interesting.
Energy.
Our next news story. Apparently there's some UFOs in Germany that have been videotaped with night vision. And it says 3 UFOs were reported over Wittenberg, Germany on the night of September 18th and reportedly clearly captured on a camera using full zoom and night sight capability. While the person who came up with the video remains anonymous, the video was posted online by UFO Files TV, which describes itself as a new kind of UFO agency on YouTube. Our goal is to upload real UFO sightings because with today's modern computer technology,
as opposed to
you
fake?
can fake many things.
With today's computer technology, we can fake all kinds of shit.
Clearly visible in the video are 3 objects, 2 of which are triangular shaped, and the third object is circular. As
And
they
one
move in
shaped
relation,
like a beer mug.
as they move in relation with each other, the 2 triangles appear to be individually rotating. And when they first approach each other, they seem to be repelled, as if they are opposite ends of a magnet, or the way objects in early video games used to bounce away from each
And
other.
they all come together to form Voltron.
Commonly seen after Oktoberfest.
The video has no clearly defined reference points like the appearance of ground, trees, hills, buildings, and even stars. At the end of the video, and to the apparent surprise of the videographer, one of the triangles takes off at an incredible speed.
Wow.
It says, is this a legitimate night vision video showing unexplained objects in the sky? Just because someone claims that night vision equipment was used to produce evidence of unknown aircraft does not mean that we should accept it as fact.
Do the aliens on so said aircraft do the chicken dance?
They may. That was from the Huffington Post, and I think the YouTube channel that you can go to is UFO Files TV on YouTube to see the video. And in our final story tonight, we have some killer hornets in China. Dozens of people are killed and hundreds are injured by swarms of giant hornets. At least 28 people have died following a spate of giant hornet attacks in central China.
I bet you they wish they had
Hundreds
a fucking EpiPen as opposed to some fucking Chinese remedy right now.
Yeah, here, eat this liquefied duck shit.
Hundreds more have been stung by swarms of flying insects. In the
Oh my god, 100 stung.
In the
Holy shit, it's a bumblebee.
area of Shanghai, I think this says. Residents in the village of Sanping have been warned to remain vigilant over the threat, especially when out in the woods. Many of the victims
China's
were
biggest
chased,
problem is being stung by hornets?
Many of the victims were chased for hundreds of yards by the hornets before being stung up to 200 times. Hospitals have been inundated with hornet victims in recent months, according to Zhao Yuhong, a health official in Ankang.
I believe it's pronounced wow. Wow, you hung.
He said that a handful of people are killed every year in the region by hornets, especially in forested areas, but that this year has been unusually severe, possibly because of weather changes. Thousands of hornets can live in a single nest, while their sting can lead to anaphylactic shock. And that's the news.
That's the news. That's the Fortean slip. Ladies and gentlemen, it was fun. Or maybe it wasn't.
I don't know what it was.
I haven't decided.
It sure was something.
We will be back in a couple of weeks. Maybe next week. Maybe not.
Pardon me while I smoke this Skookum cigarette.
Skookum! Now supported by Edward R. Murrow. From the grave.
Is that music over yet?
Yes.